The views expressed by the host of this podcast are not opinion-based or for entertainment purposes. They are actually facts and truth, no matter if other people like it or not. It is the Detroit sports truth, and nothing can ever stop it from being correct. Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to episode 177 of the Detroit Sports Truth on Spreaker. I'm Taylor Phillips, and I'm with my top co-host on the podcast, Ed Smith. Thanks so much for being on here. How are you?
Well, I'm feeling a little bit happy because the inner comic book fan in me just saw the world premiere trailer of the upcoming Batman vs. Superman movie that's going to drop in theaters next March. And suffice to say, I was heavily pleased. I'm one of those people that actually likes both Marvel and DC, so I'm kind of a bit of a crossroads whenever I hear people have debates or conversations or discussions about which is better, you must pick one. I'm like, can we just pick both? Can there be a niche for both? But getting off topic, that was my non-sports related fun of the evening. The other fun was watching what the Pistons do in terms of taking care of business down at the Palace, and I think it will be only apropos that we start off tonight's show with that. Correct, Taylor? Right, Taylor?
Yep. I got my new radio shipped here. My new Sony Walkman here. It has better reception than my other little MP3 player, so I can get the Spartans on terrestrial radio instead of on my phone. I can at least try it out at Little Caesars when I make dough and sauce. So I've got like a half month left before I graduate from CMU.
All right, that's right. Finish strong, Taylor.
Yep, I got one of my four journals finished and submitted. Now I need to work on journal number 2 pretty soon. Mm-hmm. All journals are due December 10th. That's next Thursday. They're short journals, so 400 to 500 words. So let's get started. We're going to go Pistons, college basketball, college football, Lions, Tigers, and Red Wings. Pistons were playing the Phoenix Suns at the Palace of Auburn Hills. They beat the Phoenix Suns 127 to 122 in overtime. It was the Suns were 8-10 in a tie with the Utah Jazz for 8th place in the West going into that game. Let's fast forward to the end of regulation. They put Andre Drummond back on the court with 19.1 seconds left in the fourth quarter, which is a big mistake because they should have known that any opposing team will foul him in the clutch. The Suns do so with 14 and a half left when up 2. And surprisingly, Andre hits both free throws to tie it at 112 to 112 and force overtime. The Pistons... Yep.
I was going to say that was obviously gigantic. First and foremost, a huge risk because by that point, it's really playing into Phoenix's favor. You could have lost the game right then and there because if Drummond misses one or both of those and Phoenix gets the rebound, more than likely the Pistons come back bid falls short. But it seemed like if you're Phoenix, you would obviously go for that strategy, but on this occasion it came back to bite them. It blew up in their face. It backfired.
Yeah, the Pistons rolled the dice. The Suns thought they were playing it safe, but Andre Drummond just kept practicing his free throw shooting, and he hit them both. And the Pistons were fortunate enough to force overtime, tied at 112. Then, to start overtime, they jump out to a 120 to 113 lead and just nearly blow it, but get bailed out on a mysterious offensive foul call. And then later on, after Marcus Morris misses one of 2 free throws, the Pistons give the Suns 2 chances to tie it with a 3. They use their foul to give, which forces former Piston Brandon Knight to hurry a 3-shot and miss it badly. It came up well short, with 2.4 seconds left or something like that, and Marcus Morris hits both free throws to ice it. Pistons win 127 to 122. Reggie Jackson finishes with a big double-double with 34 points and 16 assists.
It should be noted, by the way, that what he did tonight, he became the first Piston to score at least 30 points and have 15 assists in one game since a guy by the name of Isaiah Thomas did it all the way back in 1988. So once again, Reggie Jackson showing off more dividends and again showcasing why he's worth, so far at least, that contract that the Pistons signed him to in the offseason this year.
Yep, and their next game is at home against Greg Monroe's Milwaukee Bucks Friday at the Palace at 7:30.
Now, you hope for a better bounce back against Milwaukee in this instance. One, it's at home. Two, it's, of course, against a former teammate, well-known teammate in Greg Monroe. And three, it's a divisional game. You want to get as many wins as you can against your divisional rival, because if it comes down to where, hey, you may need a playoff spot, not necessarily a division title, but just, a playoff spot in one of the bottom four of the East, having a win or two over let's say, a division opponent, could be that deciding tiebreaker scenario. But before we get back, I want to just briefly touch on what we saw tonight. We have to mention, by the way, that the Pistons were even able to get to this point in overtime because they had a miraculous, well, not so miraculous, but an improbable comeback bid. They were down, I believe, at least 16 points at one point in the fourth quarter. And somehow, some way, whether it be Reggie Jackson, that was mostly Reggie Jackson just turning on the switch and just going buck wild and everything, making shot after shot, bringing his team close, or the efforts of not just Jackson, but also Andre Drummond and Ersan Ilyasova, three of the Pistons' five starters, at least two of the five reaching double-doubles, but here's this. All five Pistons starters made double figures in terms of points scored. Even Kentavious Caldwell-Pope with 10 points, as compared to the three on Phoenix's side of things. Of course, former Piston Brandon Knight, who you just mentioned, he had a pretty good night as well, especially in the fourth quarter and overtime. Especially in overtime, he was making shot after shot. What it seemed like the Pistons were going to run away with it in overtime. Knights just kept hitting three after three, or three here or two there, driving to the lane, getting to the line. He kept Phoenix in that game as much as possible and almost tied it up again at the end of OT, but just that shot wasn't meant to be. Another double-double for Drummond, even when, you can see Stan Van Gundy trying to do whatever he can to offset the hack-a-dre strategy that teams are using. He still manages to find a way to get a double-double, at least in every game that he's played so far, of course, except for the game against Washington. But other than that, and of course, with them hitting the two very, very needed clutch free throws at the end of regulation to even send overtime, a good game in terms of being there where it mattered most for your team in that regard for Andre Drummond. But clearly, tonight's star was Reggie Jackson. Just great overall performance and good essentials. Being played by a team that is trying to make waves and get themselves not just a playoff spot, but a good one. When the calendar turns to April and May.
Yeah. So the Pistons improved to 10-9 with their win. They look to improve to 11-9 with a win over the Bucks. So,
Pistons, if they want to, one more thing before we move on to the next topic. If the Pistons want to make some noise in terms of establishing a good shot for the playoff hopes, this will be the month to do it, because I believe I read a couple of tweets that say the Pistons have one of the easier schedules in the month of December for any Eastern Conference team. So, especially it starts off with their next few games. So, if this is the time to start making your case for a playoff run, this will be the month to do it.
Left sideline three, and he answers.
I agree. So, Brandon Jennings, let's get to him for a minute. Brandon Jennings is expected to be back in 3 weeks from his Achilles tendon pull, and we can't wait until that happens. I got it from the Score mobile app.
Yep. I saw it on a tweet from MLive earlier today, too. So, greatly needed, desperately needed, and it'll be see how he works himself back into the starting lineup. But for now, after seeing what Reggie Jackson's done, I don't know. Maybe Jackson will find a way to remain the starting point guard, or maybe if Jennings shows us somewhat of a return to form, maybe they could platoon it, or whatever the case may be. Have Caldwell Pope come off the bench, have Jackson be at the 2, because the way Jackson's performed this year, you want to keep him on the floor as most as you can. For example, with his 31 points and 16 16 assists, through most of the game, he only had 2 turnovers. Now, granted, he did got a little bit lackadaisical with his ball handling. Had 2, some would say, costly turnovers near the end of overtime, but thankfully didn't come back to haunt the Pistons. But even still, that's an example of, like we mentioned. I mean, he even hit a half-court shot to beat the buzzer at the end of the first half. So keeping him on the floor as much as possible, combined with what he can do with Drummond on the pick and roll, what Marcus Morris has done since arriving here. By the way, good job for Morris. You gotta feel good for him getting another win against not only his brother but also his former team in the Suns. So I want to keep that chemistry as much as possible, even if eventually Jennings makes his return to the starting lineup. But let's see how he starts off now, just coming off the bench, because we're trying to work him back to form, because he is coming off a serious injury. And when you got a bench that's, not really producing as much as they can, you still got a learning Stanley Johnson, and of course you have, in my view, just a very, very below average Steve Blake. You need all the help you can get for that second unit. So Jennings coming back will be a huge, huge plus, at least in terms for the bench on the Pistons.
Yep. And the Pistons need Brandon Jennings back soon, but they don't want to rush him. So, with all that said, why don't we move on to college basketball? The Michigan Wolverines beat the North Carolina State Wolfpack 66-59. And I think they have won 4 in a row now.
At least 3, if I'm not mistaken. Since their back-to-back losses to Xavier and UConn, they've won 3 in a row against Charlotte, against Texas, and now against NC State. Now, it should be noted of this one right here. Not only was this a part of the Big Ten, the yearly Big Ten ACC Challenge. This was also a much-needed win on the road, and Michigan had to have one, and they got it. There was a couple of things that I noted that was pointed out by Drew C. Hallett. You may know him as one of the main contributors to the SB Nation affiliate for the Wolverines, MaizeandBrew.com. You can follow him on Twitter. At Drew C. Hallett. That's 2 L's and 2 T's. But enough of the shameless plugging, but I'm sure Drew will like that. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. One, that was on the road. You haven't seen Michigan really pull out too many good caliber road wins, or at least wins where, road wins where it's teams you didn't really expect them to do well or win against in recent years. Just hopefully this will probably start a spark of that. But in past recent history, the road has not been quite so kind to Wolverines, whether it be on the road or in conference play. Karis LeVert, in my view, I'm sure probably in a lot of other views, not just those wearing maize and blue colored glasses, he has the potential to be an All-American this year. You see not only his effect when he's on the field, but also on the court, but also his effect when he's off the court. Like, it seems like Michigan's offense is almost practically soulless whenever he's not playing or not having any minutes on the court. So you're going to need him as much as possible the way it's turning out for Michigan's offense this season. We saw how much he was badly missed when he went down with an injury last year. So far he's making up for that and then some. I expect him, along with Denzel Valentine, in my view, to be the top two front runners potentially for a Big Ten Player of the Year this year. That's just my personal belief. But it wasn't just Karasburg. You also saw Duncan Robinson make some plays. Zach Irvin make some plays. Making good shooting on Michigan's end. Unfortunately, though, it was a brief minor scare that you had to see when Derek Walton Jr., again, who had his own injury problems last year, missed the rest of the game last night due to a apparent left high ankle sprain that he suffered late in the first half. Now, there was some x-rays run today, and John Beilein, the head coach of the Wolverines, did come back and say that the results came back negative. So that's a big sigh of relief if you're a Michigan fan, because you did not want another setback in terms of not just for Walton personally, but for this team as a whole. So,
yeah, still no timetable for his return, I heard. I want to make a correction. The Wolverines have won 3 straight. You were right. Not 4, it's 3. They play at home Saturday against Houston Baptist, and then Tuesday they're at SMU, and then next Saturday they return home against Delaware State, and then Northern Kentucky and Youngstown State and Bryant before Big Ten Conference action begins at Champaign, Illinois.
It's the final line now. So essentially, until conference play begins on the 30th this month, really Michigan's only true non-conference test is going to be at SMU, because currently now they're unbeaten, they're 5-0, they're ranked 22, they're in the top 25. So this is a game that's going to get some attention. It's going to be aired on ESPN2 9 o'clock. So there's going to be good primetime slots, some would say. So this will be another chance for the Wolverines to make a good impression. Granted, they haven't had quite as much good success. Remember, they did get bombed by both Xavier and UConn, but they have made up with it with good wins over Texas and now NC State in this Big Ten ACC Challenge. So maybe the Wolverines can use this more to their advantage of inspiring hopes, so to speak, for their fans. Because after you saw the 2 losses, you think, oh boy, this is going to be a repeat of what we saw last year. But maybe, just maybe, they'll prove more that last year was more than fluke. Especially, it'll be helpful if your main guys stay healthy, i.e. Walton Jr. and Levert. We're still trying to work, you're still trying to work Spike Albrecht back to the lineup, because, he's still recovering, so to speak, from off-season surgery. But whenever he is available, he does get some minutes, but not too many. So as long as you stay relatively healthy, as we get into and get through the meat of the conference schedule, Michigan fans, I think they should be a little bit confident that their team will have a better regular season. They will at least make the tournament as compared to what they did last year.
Absolutely true. So we move on to MSU, Michigan State Spartans. They were ranked 3rd in the conference going into tonight's game against Rick Pitino's 24th ranked Louisville Cardinals. The Spartans start 0 for 8 in field goal shooting with 2 turnovers and totally 1 out of 11 in field goal attempts, and turned the ball over 5 times in the first 10:37 of the game, and find themselves down 21-6 or 21-8. 21-6. Then they go on 21-8. Then they go on a 9-0 run to make it interesting. Trailed 32-29 after a very sick Denzel Valentine layup at the buzzer when he got fouled with no call on his way to the lane. Was that Valentine that hit that layup at the buzzer to end the first half?
That might have been, because he did score quite a lot tonight. That might have been. You might have to go back and look at the tape, but I'm pretty sure it was him.
Yep. And then they finally take their first lead of the game about midway through the second half and hold on to win 71-67. So Tom Izzo told the sideline reporter that he wasn't happy with the way they started, and but he always relied on them to bounce back, which they did, and their comeback paid dividends, and they stay undefeated.
Yeah, another big win, because I believe this was a rematch of this year, I want to say, this past year's Elite Eight between the Cardinals and the Spartans. So, this payback win, so to speak, for Michigan State. Not like you mentioned, they didn't have a rocky start, but thanks largely to the efforts of Denzel Valentine, who I will mention, like I said, I mentioned him earlier with Karis LeVert as being potential front runners for Big Ten Player of the Year. Valentine, the way he's playing, he may be a potential Wooden Award candidate the way he's playing. So it seems like whenever, every few years, when you see a highly recruited player, whatever, in their senior year under Izzo, they always provide must-see intangibles that draw the attention of either national writers or scouts, whether it be in the past Bettine Cleaves, Jason Richardson, even recently with the likes of Draymond Green. So Denzel Valentine may be falling into that same line. Of course, we got to go all the way back to Magic Johnson, but he didn't finish out as a senior, but you get my gist. It wasn't just on Valentine. This was, the whole team, the team as a whole. Whether it be making free throws, they had a better free throw shooting percentage than Louisville, and also they played more team ball. They had more assists to Louisville, 17-7. So that helped a lot in terms of spreading the ball around and getting more people more opportunities, which of course led to more baskets, which in this close game you needed as many as you can. So they didn't take the care of the ball as much as earlier, but they did have good defensive showcase with 8 blocks compared to Louisville's 4. So it's little things that within a game like that can help eventually decide the outcome of a game. So another good win, another big win. Clearly, it will give MSU more attention as a potential. It's very, very early to say this now, but as the season rolls along, and if they still maintain a good record, not only can they be seen as a front runner to win the Big Ten, but also be a front runner to be a number 1 seed in the upcoming NCAA tournament. So, definitely a team to look out for. Is Michigan State, especially with Tom Izzo at the helm as head coach.
Let me look at the Spartans' schedule for a minute. I was busy sharing our podcast on all my social media networks.
Mm-hmm. Well, much like Michigan, I can already tell. Much like Michigan, MSU has a bit of an easy laid down schedule as we get closer to the start of conference play. I think the note 2, if you want to count locally, but at least one big noteworthy non-conference game that Michigan State has coming up is at home on the 12th at 6 o'clock start against the now currently unranked Gators of Florida. So that'll be one game to look out for. And the game that I mentioned for local matters is being on the 22nd, 3 days before Christmas, 7 o'clock start, when the Spartans take on the Oakland Grizzlies at the Palace. So I think this is the game that they usually do every year, so they have some sort of agreement. So that will be, I believe, that will be the final game for the Spartans before conference play starts for them a week later on the road against Iowa. So I bet they'll start out their conference schedule with back-to-back games on the road. The first 4, I should say, on the road, I should say.
That is their last non-conference game, but it's not their next overall.
Right. That's all the way on the 22nd. We're going to cross that road when we get there.
They've got 4 more games before they play Oakland at the Palace at the Spartan Clash in Auburn Hills. Their next game is Saturday at noon against Binghamton. The Binghamton Grizzly Bears, I think. The logo's small.
I think it's the Binghamton University Bearcats.
Bearcats, yeah.
I.e. some team like we literally have not heard of before until like 5 seconds ago.
I see. I'm Googling. Yep. Binghamton Bearcats. So, yep. Well, moving forward to college football.
Touchdown, MSU!
We will go ahead and preview the Michigan State Spartans and Iowa Hawkeyes Big Ten championship game at Lucas Oil Stadium Saturday night at 8:15. That should be on Fox, right?
I believe so. I think Fox has aired every Big Ten championship game since they started having this game in 2011, which of course can also coincidentally feature the Spartans as well, I might add.
Looking into it right now.
Yeah, it's on Fox.
It's on Fox, yep. Get it on your local Fox television affiliate with either Gus Johnson or Tom Brenneman.
Pretty sure it's going to be Gus Johnson on the call.
Yeah, because I remember him calling the Michigan State-Ohio State Big Ten championship game in 2013.
And all the MSU-Wisconsin Classic in 2011. That game was a thriller right down to the wire. And, of course, when you have a guy like Gus Johnson on the call, it just adds more to the craziness of the game.
Mm-hmm. So, 8:17 kickoff, p.m. Eastern. So, the Spartans are ranked fifth. The Spartans are ranked fifth. And the Iowa Hawkeyes are ranked fourth. And a BTN.com source had a tail of the tape, which I will read right now on my script. Points per game, Iowa has outscored MSU 33.7 to 33.4. Yards per game, Iowa 404.3, MSU 399.4. Points allowed per game, Iowa 18.7, MSU 21.1. Turnover margin, 14, plus 14 each. So this tail of the tape sounds pretty even, except it three-fourths of it has just barely favored the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, especially one of the stats where their average amount in terms about the points scored per game. I think that's a little bit of a fallacy behind that certain stat, because you got to remember the type. These are two different divisions. Michigan State, they have to deal with the likes of Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State year in, year out, or Northwestern on an odd year as well, if they're feeling good that year. Whereas Iowa, what else needs to be said about Iowa? They ate up, as expected to, on a very, very weak Big Ten East division. Now, granted, you still got to play the game, still got to go out there and win, but I'm pretty sure, the aforementioned teams like Michigan or Ohio State, even Northwestern could have a well above average record playing in that division against put them exactly in Iowa's spot. You can make a case that they would possibly be in this game as well right now. But that's nothing to take away from. They still went out there, they did the deed, they played the game, and they won, and now they're in the spot right now where they are. obviously, in terms of intangibles, there's so much that's on the line for this game. Not just the Big Ten championship, chance potentially to go to the Rose Bowl, but also when you especially look at rankings, a chance to be in the college football playoff. Now, MSU, they just missed out on it last year. They were one of the, I believe, one of the 2 or 3 odd teams out, so they had to settle for the Cotton Bowl. Where they won, of course, but now this is one of their mantras this year has been reach higher. So it seems like that's been part of the step of this process for the past few years now for Mark D'Antonio. Starting in 2010, 2011, so to speak, where it evolved from, let's beat Michigan to, let's just be the best program, not just in this state, not just in this conference, but in the whole damn nation. So whether it be getting big wins over the likes of Wisconsin and Notre Dame, whether it be continuing their dominance over the aforementioned Wolverines, or, hey, in back-to-back years, picking up big wins, or consecutive years, I should say, picking up big wins over the Ohio State Buckeyes, especially this one, where they had to go to Columbus, a game that not many people were picking them to win at all, especially yours truly. And not only did they do that, the way they played, especially defensively, it garnered them enough respect in the rankings, so to speak, where they were able to recover from that maddening, heartbreaking loss to Nebraska earlier last month.
Where they played not to lose.
Yeah, they played not to lose, and it bit them in the behind. So, seeing them recover from that, and of course taking the fact that they did get a win against Michigan and Ann Arbor. Say what you want about the finish, but they got the win. That's all that matters. They beat an Oregon team that granted looked shaky earlier in the year, but now they rebounded. I believe they even beat Stanford at one point in Palo Alto. So that was another win that looked good on Michigan State's resume as the year evened out. So MSU, whether it be, or, like I mentioned before, just from wanting to be the best, period, they got to the Big Ten championship game in 2011. They were close, but fell in a heartbreaker. Then a year or so had passed by. 2013, they've won it finally. I believe they beat Ohio State in that one. I'm pretty sure it was them that they beat to get to the Rose Bowl. Then they won the Rose Bowl. This past year, they were part of the New Year Six. So now, like I said, retire. Now they're on the cusp of something even more glorious, a chance to play for the college football playoff and a chance to play for the national championship now. It's not a one-and-done scenario, where you hope for some voter shenanigans like you did in the BCS or on the old school AP poll days. Now you're in a playoff. Your fate, if you're selected right enough by the committee, your fate is in your own hands. So this has been MSU's MO, for the past 5 or 6 years now. Have everything within our grasp, and let's just go out and fight for it. So, with that being said, looking at the line, looking at the matchups, looking at who needs this win more, I would be inclined, actually, to pick Michigan State. I think this is a game for them where it all comes full circle in a way. They, again, pull off another big win, and it stays consistent with their goal of reach higher, aim higher, wherever the case may be. And with Connor Cook now fully 100% recovered and healthy, as we saw last week against Penn State, who in my view has been the MVP, so to speak, for this whole entire team this year. This is a team that I think should win against Iowa. Now, granted, Iowa may be good, but I think MSU's defense will be able to, while they have some questions in their secondary, their front seven will be able to load up and cause some problems in Iowa's backfield with disrupting plays, stuffing your run, etc., etc. So I expect this to be a close one, like so many of MSU's games have been this year. But in the end, I expect some Sparty magic, you would say, and MSU will pull off a close win. I would reckon by a score of 28-25.
All right. I think I agree with you picking MSU to beat Iowa by a close margin. I would think that the key to one key to the game is to hold Iowa to at least like up to 18 points or 20. Their defense is going to have to step it up a notch or two.
If they give up 30, they'll lose. There's no question about it. They'll lose. As good as Connor Cook has been, I'm not sure if he'll if his defense will give him enough time. Well, not give enough time, but give enough chances to get back out on the field because of the amount of points they give it up. Connor Cook is good, but I'm not sure if he's that good enough. Or hey, we could expect him to go just sling it out and go toe for toe in a shootout slugfest. That type of good. But so it's just, the pressure is definitely on MSU's defense to keep this one as low scoring as possible.
Yep. So again, 8:17 p.m. Eastern kickoff time on your local Fox television affiliate. Gus Johnson on the call. You can also listen to it on the radio on the Spartan Sports Network and its radio affiliates. Now we move on to the Lions.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
The Lions play a special Thursday night football game, which is a reason why we started this podcast tonight instead of tomorrow. They play the Green Bay Packers at Ford Field on NFL Network's Thursday Night Football. That is at 8:30, correct? Or is it 8?
8 or 8:30. I got to check to be sure about that. They'll also be simulcasted on CBS. So that's another game that those were not just in the state of Michigan, but also around the nation, can view on their local CBS affiliates.
Yep. Looking.
And it's a 8:25 kickoff start, so I'm sure coverage will begin at 8, and then they'll have the kickoff at around close to 8:30.
All right. So the Lions, as we recall, beat the Packers at Lambeau Field 18 to 16. I'm getting the hiccups here. 18 to 16 at Lambeau Field. That was the first time they beat them at Lambeau Field since 1991, December 21st. And it is 8:25 p.m. on CBS and the NFL Network with Jim Nantz on the call and Phil Simms.
Hello, friends.
Yep. So, a little injury report. Safety Glover Quinn and kicker Matt Prater are both questionable. Quinn is dealing with an ankle injury, and Matt Prater is dealing with illness. The Lions need Prater.
Yeah.
But what do you expect? What kind of matchups do you expect to take place?
I would expect them to see how much more can they utilize not just Amir Abdullah, but also, as we saw last week, even Theo Riddick out of the backfield. Can Matthew Stafford's hot streak continue? How much more shots can Calvin Johnson get at getting touchdowns in the end zone? And really, how will we be seeing Aaron Rodgers? Like, how good up to form will he be? Because remember, last time we saw him last week on Thanksgiving night, he was having problems with either his elbow or his hand during that loss to the Bears. Vegas does have currently Green Bay as a 3-point favorite, but that could literally move at any point now between now and kickoff tomorrow. So, or tonight, since we're past midnight now. But the way Green Bay's been playing, ever since week 8, they've been a team trending downwards. They had a good start, they had a good win over Seattle, but now, whether it be a loss to Denver, a loss to Chicago last week, of course, a loss to these Lions. Green Bay has not been their usual stud self, and this is a team that many picked to win this NFC North division. But now it seems like of all teams, the Minnesota Vikings look to be the team to beat as we now officially head into December, the money month, the month where you need to win your games and seal your playoff spot. And that's another thing too, because if Green Bay isn't careful, they could fall out of that fifth spot, I believe, in the current NFC playoff picture, because Atlanta lost, so that puts them on the borderline edge of falling out of their sixth spot. But Seattle, a team that Green Bay beat, they got a big win, a crucial win against Pittsburgh on Sunday, so that puts them back in the hunt, so to speak, or keeps them closer to the sixth spot as opposed to any of the 7-loss teams that currently includes the Lions. Granted, though, they are in the hunt. And as for the Lions, like we mentioned it before last week, or not, I should say on Monday's show, that the hopes of them getting a high top 5 draft pick, aka the hashtag Streaky for Kimdichi bandwagon, I've officially declared it dead. So now it seems like the focus now for the Lions, if you're a fan and you just want to just see some happiness, so to speak, as opposed to 3 hours of misery on your fall Sundays, it seems like they're putting together a quite good enough run where they might contend for a playoff spot, especially with how, lumped together this NFC is this year. The Lions, I hate to say it, but it seems like the Lions may have an outside shot. Win a division? No, because I think it's going to come down to either Green Bay or Minnesota.
I think Minnesota will win the division as of right now.
I think so too. As the way they're playing, but I would never count on Green Bay because what they have Aaron Rodgers. That's like saying, you'll never count out New England because they have Tom Brady. So as long as number 12 is suiting up for the green and gold, I'm not counting him out by a long shot. But it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out, because whoever loses this game, it for the Lions, it essentially puts an end to their playoff hopes, but for the loss to the Packers, it puts them on that dangerous wire, so to speak, of teetering between in the playoffs and currently on the outside looking in. I gotta say, because we've seen before in the past, now granted the team has not always performed up to snuff, but on these primetime games, these whether it be Monday night, Sunday nights, now for a Thursday night game at Ford Field, fans do get amped. They do get rowdy. They do get, and I hate to compare it to Seattle, so to speak, but their energy and their frenetic fever reminds me of that sort of way. So maybe that could be an intangible that motivates the Lions to play well enough where it could come down to it where they make a play here or two. Actually, say for instance, get a turnover off Rodgers, capitalize on it, use it to their advantage. And believe it or not, I could actually see the Lions getting a win here. Now, granted, I don't like that, not because of the whole, let's salvage the tank job. I'm like, no. I would love to see Jim Caldwell fired, especially after they got rid of both Martin Mayhew and Tom Lawan. So, to me, it would be imperative for the Lions to get rid of Caldwell, which would mean they missed the playoffs this year, losing as many games as possible. But now, clearly, they've won 3 in a row. It seems like Caldwell is on the up and up of quote-unquote trying to save his job. And if they win enough games, I'm actually fearful enough that they're going to bring him back next year. It's like with Brad Ausmus and the Tigers, except, in this case, I'm hoping it doesn't happen this time around. But given how Green Bay is playing, I just don't feel confident in them right now. So I'm going to actually pick the Lions to win this one. I'd say it'd be 35-28 type of score. Maybe 35-31, because I can see Green Bay getting a field goal or two.
Oh, really? Well, the Packers' offense has struggled quite a bit still, with their ending with their loss at home to Chicago on Thanksgiving Day, and I'm still looking for them to keep struggling. I just don't see the Packers gaining back the momentum right now. They're at Ford Field in a hostile environment. The Lions are trying to win their 4th straight in a row and trying to finish 9-7. and just hope to God they get a playoff spot, a wild card spot specifically. We know they're not going to win the division. The Vikings are, but I would predict the Lions 34, the Packers 19.
Wow. That would mean a big night for offensively and defensively. I do expect, I'm going to be definitely paying attention to Ziggy Ansah. After the big day that he had last week against Philly, I believe now he's tied with J.J. Watt of Texas, of Houston for the overall sacks lead in the NFL. Now J.J. might have had another sack or two since then, but still, very high mark that Ziggy has set for him this year. He's essentially coming to his own, even after the departures of both Ndamukong and Nick Fairley. He's becoming what many fans were excited to see when the team drafted him out of BYU a couple years back. So I'm going to put Ziggy Ansah on my players to watch, just like I would with Aaron Rodgers. If I'm picking two players to watch, it's Aaron Rodgers for Green Bay and Ziggy Ansah for Detroit. Not Mount Megatron, not Stafford, not even Golden Tate or Amir Abdullah. It's going to be number 94 in the blue and silver for me in terms of players to watch for tonight.
Mm-hmm. So, with all that said, why don't we move to the Detroit Tigers?
That one is long gone.
The Tigers have reported to sources that they will not tender contract offers to relief pitchers Al Albequerque and Neftali Feliz, meaning they released them both. I think Al Avila made the right decision not to offer them contracts. His main priority is to upgrade and improve the team's bullpen at a quote-unquote cost-effective rate. Katie Strang's words from ESPN. Because their back end of the bullpen really needs a big, major tune-up, except at a cost-effective rate. Maybe major or minor or whatever. It's got to be good enough.
Yeah, it's got to be at least adequate. Now, I'm sure for most teams, adequate wouldn't cut it. But when you're the Tigers and the bullpen has been a severely known weakness of your team going back several years. I'm going to say going back to 2009. That sounds like they've been on and off with their bullpen struggles before then, but really this known weakness of the Tigers having a bad bullpen, it really started in 2009 because literally that's what cost them in one part, and one say not the reason, but it was one reason why they lost the division title to Minnesota in that game 163. So, of course, it was the reason why they lost to the Boston Red Sox, 2013 ALCS. Bad bullpen once again. So, it's good to see Al Avila try to do something as opposed to what Dave Dombrowski didn't do when he was here, which hilariously is now convenient or coincidental or whatever term you want to use, since he was now a part of the Red Sox organization, he brought in Craig Kimbrell. So how about that? How about those apples? But anyway, seeing what the Tigers do, getting Francisco Rodriguez, that was a good start. I can see what Katie Strang meant in terms of cost cutting or less cost effective, and save up some money by not tendering to the contracts of either Feliz or Albuquerque will be one way of doing that. I think they should really hold off on trying to add another starting pitcher per se and just focus on more of your bullpen, because you probably don't have some money, but not too much money to spend around, and using that another starting pitcher when you already have Verlander, you have Sanchez, you have Jordan Zimmerman, and you're going to have, Daniel Norris when he recovers from his thyroid cancer issue, and, either a combo platoon of either Shane Green, so to speak.
Or Kyle Lobstein.
I know I'm. Oh yeah, or Lobstein, Shane Green, Kyle Lobstein, one of those two, coming out of the fifth spot of your rotation. So that's already a very, very good starting rotation that you want to use. Now your main focus in terms of your pitching, fix your relief issues, please, for the love of God.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to use Buck Farmer as a relief pitcher either, because he still sucks. He can't even pitch effectively enough as a reliever. It's evident to me that he keeps giving up runs, whether he's a starting pitcher or a relief pitcher. I've seen it the last 2 years.
Well, they better hope more of their players internally get it together, because if Bruce Rondon isn't showing improvement, I don't care how hard or how fast you throw a baseball. If you don't have proper pitching placement, or how the if you don't have proper pitching technique and placement, it ain't gonna mean jack. It's just gonna be a big meatball waiting in the middle of the plate for a batter to hit the hammer out of the park. So that's another guy who needs to get together, or otherwise he'll be on my crap list, so to speak, as the way Buck Farmer is currently on yours.
So the Tigers still have Alex Wilson and Bruce Rondon in their bullpen. Angel Nesbitt. Let me see. Matt Boyd is a minor league starter. They got Montreal Robertson, Gyro Laporte, that's a relief pitcher. Michael Fulmer, relief. Jeff Farrell, relief. Minor league. Sorry about that. Not relief. Minor league. Jeff Farrell, Michael Fulmer, Gyro Laporte, Montreal Robinson, Kyle Ryan. They're minor leaguers. Kyle Ryan was a starter. So, with Albequerque, Feliz, and Chamberlain gone already, Tigers released him unconditionally in the middle of the middle of this past season, as we recall. So, Alex Wilson proved to be a good setup guy in the late innings, as far as I can tell, because we remember one game when at Fenway Park, Alex Wilson pitched a 1-2-3 eighth inning, and he finished it off in the ninth inning.
So maybe that could be used to his favor in terms of determining who will be that setup guy, so to speak, for the Tigers this year, unless for this upcoming season, if they don't get one in the free agency market.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Tom Gorslani is no longer on the roster. I'll bet he was released. So I would pick Alex Wilson over Bruce Rondon analytically.
Yeah, I would too, because like I said, just the heat may be there, but the proper fundamentals need to be there also. So far, Rondon just doesn't have it.
Right. So, with all that Tigers talk out of the way, let's wrap this up with Red Wings talk. The Red Wings were playing the Buffalo Sabres at Joe Louis Arena, Hockey Town. They jump out to a 2-0 lead, and then they lead 3-1 in the second period, give up a power play goal to lead 3-2, to cut the lead to 3-2 in the third period, and then they take a dumb penalty I believe someone mentioned that it was Gustav Nyquist that took the penalty. I was skipping most of the game, but that was because I was afraid to witness yet another third period debacle, which actually happened when they gave up inevitably the tying goal, except 53 seconds, just 53 seconds into the third period. And then the Sabres, a few minutes later, take the lead 4-3. But then Justin Abdelkader went 5-hole and scored with over 6 minutes left. And the game obviously went to a shootout for the first time for the Red Wings this season. And Nyquist and Datsuk didn't even deke. And Mrazek was in net. He stopped all 3 shots. And Brad Richards, of all people, 29 of 78, and has no goals in the regular season. And he gets a shootout goal, and it proves to be the game winner. And Justin Abdelkader finishes with a Gordie Howe hat trick, 2 goals, 1 assist, and 1 fight. And Drew Miller scored a goal, and he actually, finally, and he actually earned the 3rd star. I mean, why the hell would Drew Miller ever earn a 3rd star? I mean, his goal was not the game winner. Brad Richards got the game winner.
Yeah, you could have got given that 3rd star to him or Mrazek.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, those 3-star people are dumb. They keep dropping the ball on the 3 stars at times, and they don't use their heads. And Evander Kane scored 2 goals in terms of the 2nd star. He scored 2 goals. I think he should have picked up the 2nd star instead of that one Sabres player that picked up 4 assists. I couldn't even remember, Riskalainen or something like that.
Yeah, Riskalainen, he picked up 3 assists.
4.
So I could see.
4. I'm
looking at the stat sheet. It says 3.
It has. Oh, does he have 3 or does he have 4?
I think from what I'm looking at, it says 3.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, the Red Wings win in a shootout. It's their first shootout of the season, and they're 1-0 when Brad Richards steps up. But when I saw Nyquist and Datsuk in the shootout, Nyquist didn't even deke. Datsuk's deke wasn't wide enough, but Brad Richards' deke and shot was so quick that even the goaltender couldn't even see it, and it went in the net. But it's still that 3rd period.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier on the last episode that we should really be starting a drinking game, so to speak. And one of the examples I mentioned was, take a shot at the Wings, give up a lead in the 3rd period, or take any shot at the Wings, give up any goal in the 3rd period. So, you were probably halfway to being tipsy right now if you played that game during the 3rd period of the last game.
Yeah, like a drinking game of like water or soda pop or lemonade or iced tea. Keep this clean.
You could say that.
Yeah, because once again, I never drink alcoholic beverages. So the Red Wings play Thursday night against the Arizona Coyotes, and then they wrap up their homestand, 6-game homestand, against the Nashville Predators Saturday. Do you mind giving a quick preview of those two opponents?
Well, I don't know what to expect with Nashville. It seems like every once in a while they split a series with Detroit every season, whether it be at home or on the road. With Arizona, I can't believe they renamed them Arizona. They have some players to look out for. Domi being one, since he leads the team with 21 points. So this is a game, though, since the Red Wings are favored, the way I'm looking at it, should be a winnable game. You want to win at least one of those two games because you're heading into a big game on the road this upcoming, I believe, Wednesday night against, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. Next Tuesday, rather, against Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals on the road in prime time on NBC Sports Network. So it'll be imperative that you win at least one of these two home games, to give you some sort of semblance of confidence of winning that game, because it doesn't get any easier, because even though you come home next game, you're facing Montreal, and they've been on red hot this year so far. They only got 4 regulation losses. So it'd be wise for you to win as many games as possible before you match up with the likes of Kate Subban and the Habs.
Mm-hmm. Right now, the Coyotes are in third place in the Pacific Division at 13-10-1 with 27 points. The Predators are in third place in the Central Division at 13-7-4 with 30 points. Those two upcoming games are key games at the Joe before the Wings head to D.C. for Wednesday night rivalry on NBCSN with Mike Emmerich and Eddie Olczyk. Capitals are 17-5-1 with 35 points right now in second place in the Metropolitan Division. Canadians, as you mentioned, lead the Atlantic Division at 19-4-3 with 41 points. That is the best in the East.
In the whole league, I believe.
In the whole league as well, yes. 2 points ahead of the Dallas Stars at 19-5-1 with 39 points.
Should be noted, though, the Red Wings and Canadiens are in the same Atlantic Division, and the team that currently sits at second place, even though it's not by much, it's the Detroit Red Wings with 30 points. They own 13-8-4. They own a point over Ottawa, who sits at third at 29. And below them at 28 points at fourth, Boston, the Boston Bruins. And, after that, it's a bit of a jumbled mess, whether it be the Buffalo Sabres, Tampa Bay Lightning, and even, of course, the freaking Florida Panthers. But, clearly, without doubt, Montreal is the standout class of the Atlantic Division. But after that, it gets a little bit murky, determining the 2 through 6 spots in the rest of that, or even 2 through 7, so to speak, within the Atlantic Division. And, of course, Toronto is dead last because, of course, they are.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Panthers are still struggling to chase those 2 wild card spots. The Red Wings are in second place in the Atlantic Division at 13-8-4 with, as you mentioned, 30 points. Hopefully their third period woes stop once and for all. They need to get more aggressive in the third period. They can't let their foot off the pedal. They need to like go full throttle, like score like 3-0, 4-0, or 5-0, but play shutout hockey. Put the game away totally.
It would help once in a while.
Well, they need to do it. They need to be a much better third period game, not one of the worst in the league in the third period.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that.
That's about it.
Yeah.
So we've covered the Red Wings and we've covered pretty much everything. So, Ed, minor note. I guess this will be one of the parting, minor things to touch up on. It should be noted that
current Michigan defensive coordinator DJ Durkin has apparently accepted the job to become the new University of Maryland head football coach. So, bit of a loss for the Wolverines there, but congrats to DJ on getting a new job and a ascended job, so to speak, because now he's the new head ball coach for the Terps.
Yep, that is absolutely true. And athletic director Jim Hackett could resign. May I add another note?
Yeah, because I believe the search process was officially begun in terms of finding a new permanent athletic director. But I would say Hackett did a pretty darn good job, wouldn't you say? I mean, first and foremost, he brought Jim Harbaugh home, and two, he ended the atrocious-looking deal with Adidas, and three, brought back Nike. So, all in all, one of the best resumes you've ever had for an interim athletic director.
Yep. Hackett did plenty for the Michigan Wolverines and the school itself.
Touchdown, Michigan!
Let's go back to the Red Wings here. This disc jockey at Joe Louis Arena, Tim Campbell.
Yeah, I'm going to let you handle this one.
Yeah, Tim Campbell keeps blocking members of the DSR, Jeff Moss, Justin Spiro, and others. And I stood up for Justin Spiro and his friend. Let me see here on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Let me see here. He Ezra 9 North, that's Josh. He gave me a follow. So so Josh and Justin were blocked, and Justin Spiro just for that decides to says to Tim Campbell on Twitter at the Hockey Jockey. You can follow Justin Spiro at Darko State News. Follow Josh at Ezra 9 North. Spiro told Campbell that he will never listen to his crappy music again, because it is crappy. It was always crappy, most of it. So, since Tim Campbell blocked Justin Spiro and Josh, whatever his last name is, I butted in and it just got so it just riled me up, because Tim Campbell is just a stupid slaphead that he doesn't even like the intellectual critics of this Red Wings team, that because Campbell thought that Spiro and Josh actually hate the Red Wings. I mean that's just disgraceful.
Where is your honor, dirtbag? You are an absolute disgrace.
So I butted in, like I mentioned before, and tweeted to the Hockey Jockey, excuse me, but you're showing no respect whatsoever to the intellectual realists who are not hating this team. I mean, Josh and Justin Spiro never did anything wrong to you. People give you song requests and you block them. You have no respect for anyone on this planet. You must be completely way outside your skull your entire mediocre life. You are way less educated than Ezra North and Darko State News ever been, because you never attended college. There's your education lesson for you. So, that's as far as I went. And then I tweeted myself that I retweeted Justin Spiro's tweet. I gotta say, at the Hockey Jockey, Tim Campbell, is a DJ like the guy microwaving your Big Mac is a chef. Oh, man.
Actually clever.
Yeah. And then I tweeted, it is not doubtful that At the Hockey Jockey is a complete disgrace to this Detroit Red Wings organization. Totally paper-thin skin. Go home. I topped it off with that tweet right there. So, if you're a true and loyal and intellectual fan of the Detroit Red Wings and you hate the music that Tim Campbell plays, please, whether you follow him or not, At the Hockey Jockey, go to his Twitter handle and start criticizing and bashing him, please. Because he's a disgrace to this earth. Not only to the franchise, to this organization, but to the entire sports world, the entire planet. He is a dirtbag and a disgrace.
Where is your honor, dirtbag? You are an absolute disgrace.
And he plays really soft music at the wrong times.
When were you so soft?
I mean, really, you can listen to the stupid music every time at the Joe Louis Arena, every time you watch the Red Wings play at home on television on Fox Sports Detroit. The way you get distracted by that dumb music, whether you're a slaphead or not, when Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond are talking during the game about whatever topic they want to talk about in terms of hockey especially, you need to speak out, get mad, and bitch out at Tim Campbell at the Hockey Jockey on Twitter. Said, I'm not gonna take this music crap anymore. Your music is too soft. Tim Campbell should be fired. So, please do that. That's about all I have to say about this DJ at Joe Louis Arena.
Well, then that pretty much covers everything when you say.
Mm-hmm. Yep, now it covers everything. Ed, I thank you so much for helping me out and letting me take the floor on this DJ dirt thing. And I will talk to you next Monday at midnight.
Yep. Take care, everybody.
Yep. And that wraps up episode 177 of the Detroit Sports Truth. For Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. If there is anything you fans want more of or less of on my podcast, please let me know. We will talk to you at Monday at midnight. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Oh, yes, okay.